Hello and welcome to Citizens Forum. This is being filmed on Tuesday, June the 16th in the Memorial Arena in Victoria, British Columbia. I'd like to start by thanking the volunteer crew and the Shaw staff that makes this all happen. When I try and say it fast, it doesn't work. It's been, the first part of Citizens Forum is always the Walter and Jack show. I'm going to start off with something I got today. This is a statement, it's from the Pope. This is a document that is going to be released shortly. It was leaked, so it's public. It was leaked on Monday, so yesterday. I haven't heard this reported in the media yet, and that in itself is, but anyway, this is what the Pope said yesterday, Monday, June the 15th. The earth is protesting for the wrongs that we are doing to her because of the irresponsible use and abuse of the goods that God has placed on her. We've grown up thinking that we were her owners and dominators, authorized to loot her. The violence that exists in the human heart, wounded by sin, is also manifest in the symptoms of illness that we see in the earth, the water, the air, and in living things. So this is a statement that is going to be released by the Pope shortly. I'll just read the story. In a lengthy and moving letter to Roman Catholic bishops leaked on Monday, June the 15th, Pope Francis unequivocally asserts that human activity is to blame for our planet's destruction, and the only solution is for humanity to change its lifestyle and consumption. I mean, for the Pope to be saying that is, there's a lot of people saying that, but somehow it's not getting reported. Humanity is called to take note of the need for changes in lifestyle and changes in methods of production and consumption to combat the global warming, or at least the human causes that produce and accentuate it. So, momentous times. I mean, I know if there was a bit of a sex scandal in the Vatican, the media would be all over it. And yet when the Pope says we're killing the earth and we have to make serious changes. Now, this was released Monday, yesterday, and I was on the CBC website today. I listened to CFAX. I haven't heard this reported as big news. And we have to ask why.
Yeah, back in the 80s, there was a movement within the Catholic Church, and it was broadly called liberation theology. And not only with the Pope, but a lot of prominent Catholics and bishops were all calling for what they called a preferential option for the poor, which was that we should be taking care of those less advantaged on the planet. And a lot of the sentiments were just generally the same as what you're talking about today. And the responses were generally about the same. Some people were really keen and really worked hard at trying to create justice and human rights for a lot of people around the planet, but it also caused a reaction against the church. So I think right now the Pope has a little more reign than ever before because of all the scandal that has gone on and all the really bad things that have happened within the church. So I think he can say this now quite comfortably, and there's no powerful reactionary lobby that's really noticeable in the Vatican right now.
When did this happen, this liberation theology?
Well, it's, of course, that liberation theology was started around the time of Jesus.
Yeah.
But it really around in the early 60s, there was a big movement of change within the Catholic Church. I was a Catholic at the time. I was young, but still I was aware of the changes. And it was all very good. You know, you couldn't really criticize. They were trying to humanize the church. And then there was a reaction against that.
What was the reaction?
Just tighter rules, more mortal sins. I don't know what they had, but basically the church, was anti-gay, anti-women, and much more right-wing in a general tone. But I think now, with this Pope saying what he's saying, I think there is a chance that this could create real change, because about 1 billion people are Catholic in the world.
Pope carries a lot of weight.
And his homilies and what he says is read in every church. So it's quite a powerful statement. Well, we're still covering the CRD, of course, the sewage stuff, and I just clipped that headline the day last Wednesday. And what's the
Sewage boss tops CRD pay despite pause for project. A very musical headline.
Well, it's just about the title is just about as strange as the article, but it does say that that the head of the CTERA program director, Albert Sweetnam, gets $297,000 a year. That's a nice little paycheck, particularly when he's not done anything since he's been hired.
And we can't blame him for that even. I mean, nothing,
no, but nevertheless,
we can blame him though for pushing ahead with the old plan. I mean, he was a big supporter of the old plan. Which was,
but he was part of the gear. He was in the gears. I wouldn't really point at him that much because they would have had some other guy there. But when I was looking at that and thinking about it, and we've mentioned this before, but like we don't have a prayer here in the Greater Victoria region when it comes to really having input on this project. This is a Stephen Harper, a plan. The money was allocated by the Conservative government, and the NDP, the federal NDP, are all eager and totally behind it. And then you have the Liberal provincial government who mandated that CTERA run this project, which is bizarre because it's a public project. We can manage our own projects. We don't have to hire private companies to manage these things. And then you have our local politicians, mostly well-meaning, but nevertheless with no mandate. They weren't elected to do this project, scurrying around trying to cobble something together when they don't even have an agreement. Are we talking about a tertiary treatment plant or a secondary treatment plant? Is it going to be a bunch of decentralized model with a bunch of treatment plants or one big treatment plant? Nobody really knows. They're running around looking for sites to put these treatment plants, but nobody really knows what is it. Is it the size of a house or is it the size of a football field? We don't really know. We have the local politicians running around trying to appease their masters when there's so much corruption there that it just doesn't have a prayer. Let's face it. How are they going to get some kind of a consensus? How are they going to present this to the public? How are they really going to get a mandate? They'd have to go to some type of a plebiscite to get a vote on it. How are they going to find out?
They have absolutely no intention of doing that.
No, they won't do that. The one thing that could save us.
Well, I'll say this. I went to some of these meetings, and I was at a table where a small group of people, including myself, 4 or 5, 6 people, kind of made a decision to reduce the number of sites because that was our job. We were there, and they told us, your job is to reduce the number of sites, so we did. So now they're saying, well, the number of sites have been reduced from 80 to 40 or whatever, 20, whatever the numbers are, but we didn't really reduce anything. We just said those are the best sites based on the fact that we have no idea of what the technology is. So we got to reduce them. So yeah, those are the best sites. But we didn't say these are impossible to use. But now those are like gone from the conversation.
Like we're going to build a spacecraft to fly to the moon. we're going to bring in the general public to see how they feel about it and see what kind of handles and knobs you want on the controls. I mean, it's all so bizarre.
But we've got to hope that we end up with something great. We've got to hope that, because this is hundreds of millions of dollars and a big, big deal.
I'm hopeful. Believe me, this is as hopeful as I can get, Chad.
This is me being hopeful.
But no, I mean, I'm kind of cheering them on. I hope to God they can figure something out.
Yeah.
But it's a maze to me. It just simply doesn't make any sense, any of it.
I want to go on to the vaccine thing. The vaccine thing from the corporate media, pharmaceutical industry, official story point of view is that they're getting closer to making vaccinations mandatory. That seems to be what they're doing. And I mean, that's the story in the media, and I assume, therefore, that that's what they're doing. So, but what they're not reporting, while they keep reporting that vaccines are safe and vaccines are effective, and if you don't want to get vaccinated, you're an anti-vaxxer. That's kind of the official story. But what they're not reporting is that I guess the number one MMR vaccine maker, measles, mumps, rubella, in the United States, which is Merck. Here's the headline: Merck senior management tried to pay off its own vaccine scientists to remain silent about scientific fraud. That's a bit hard to take in. But, so Merck senior manager, because what happened was the scientists came out, and this happened somewhere between 2010 and 2012. So it's like a years old story that they will not report. And basically the scientists are saying that back in 2010, 2 former Merck scientists filed a False Claims Act in U.S. District Court. The filing accuses Merck of lying about the safety and effectiveness of MMR vaccines, tampering with study data, defrauding the U.S. government, and various other high-level crimes. So these are the people who make the vaccines that we're told are going to save us. And this has been going on for years. And the media, the entire fraudulent, corrupt, corporate-owned propaganda machine media that we have to live with every day refuses to report on it. I mean, it's unbelievable.
And a lot of people are suffering and dying in the process. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are suffering while they bring forward, which is really just a corporate agenda. It's just a way to make money. The pharmaceutical, chemical lobby is one of the largest in the world now. The profits are so enormous. So, and as you read all the charges against them, I was just thinking, well, it's a business as usual, isn't it? I could almost pick any industry out for you, and I could start digging, and I could start bringing in articles with the same things going on. Particularly, when I followed the cell phone industry for so many years and looked at the level of corruption there, it's astonishing. And a lot of people are suffering and dying because they're not aware that this type of technology can be very, very harmful. So, boy, I tell you, if something could happen, if somebody actually ended up in court and somebody went to jail, then we might have something. But people never seemingly ever pay any price for any of these misdeeds. They just seem to get off every time.
And it's because the lunatics control the asylum. I mean, the crooks are running the prison. I guess the basic underlying fact is that our countries, Canada, the United States, for sure, have been completely taken over by a very undemocratic, just too powerful people.
Yeah, I think the motivation to make profits has always been there. What's changed, say, since the advent of the Harper regime, the Gordon Campbell regime too, boy, it was pretty corrupt right through. A lot of really bad things happened. So, we did have a government that would have somebody, a few people that would go to bat for us. We used to have an opposition party in British Columbia, for instance, but now we,
I think it shows that the people on top have completely taken over the entire political process.
Yeah.
And so our governments, I seem to remember many, many, many years ago that our governments kind of did work for us. They brought in some good stuff, but now they are owned by the corporations and they work for them.
Well, the same public relations firms work for all the major political parties. So how do you fit your brain around that when they're trying to carve out turf and they're telling Justin Trudeau, oh yeah, support Bill C-51. Don't let that be a wedge issue between you and the Conservatives. Well, how about all the people who are going to be imprisoned and all the bad things that are going to happen in Canada while they play politics? Like, Justin Trudeau is not his father. Pierre Trudeau probably would have said, no, that's just plain wrong. I'm not supporting it. That's the end of that. That would be a lovely and wonderful thing to happen to us. But they'll do, and these same PR firms advise the NDP, they're advising the Conservatives. They're writing they're writing the story, the election story right now for us, and they're going to bring that story to fruition because they control. And it's going to be one of the narrowest elections in Canadian history, unless the Conservatives completely crash. And there's a chance that people will completely abandon the Conservative Party. They get so many reasons to, and that's not unusual. That happened with the Liberals, with the Conservatives with the Mulroney era. When that ended, they only had 2 seats at the end of that. And then when the Conservatives or the Liberals were all over with Paul Martin and that crowd, there's only a handful of Liberal seats. So,
but the problem is, whoever they bring in is, who is that government going to be really working for? And that's what makes me nervous.
Yeah, you hope they throw us a bone here and give us something.
Okay, so here is something in this month's Watershed Sentinel, a very excellent magazine, Watershed Sentinel. Just Google it. A story by Paul Manley. Paul Manley was going to be an NDP candidate federally, I think, in the last election, but they wouldn't approve his papers, basically. And he's talking here about why he's joined the Green Party. I think he's going to be running for the Green Party. He says
so the NDP rejected his candidacy. They wouldn't allow him to run.
Yeah, and he says some scary things. I mean, he says the leader of the NDP supports the Energy East pipeline, a raw bitumen export pipeline that will expand tar sands production 40% above current rate of 2 million barrels a day. This flies in the face of NDP climate policy. The NDP leader also supports Kinder Morgan, but just isn't happy with the environmental assessment process. He states that with a better process, Kinder Morgan would be acceptable. And Paul says, I unequivocally oppose the pipeline. Paul says, I found out that not a single NDP member of Parliament voted against the Canada-Korea Free Trade Agreement this fall. Well, I mean, is that who the NDP is? I don't know, but when I read that, I found it very scary.
Well, it's refreshing, isn't it? He's a very bright guy, and the Greens have, it's a coup for them to win him over, and he's probably a credible candidate, and he could win that seat. The NDP play a tricky game here. The provincial NDP have been playing it for many years. It's just basically promising the world to the corporations and doing whatever it takes. And then at the same time promising citizens great things that never happened. So Mulcair could fall into that category. And I'd say, what they call, we could just get Obama, like that happened in the States. Obama was supposed to be such a great savior, and what turned out there,
We've only got 30 seconds left. I just want to read again what the Pope said yesterday, Monday, June 15th. The earth is protesting for the wrong that we are doing to her because of the irresponsible use and abuse of the goods that God has placed on her. We have grown up thinking we were her owners and dominators, authorized to loot her. So we've got to change. Walter, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, Jack.
And thank you for watching this segment of Citizens Forum.